I heard this great story. I was listening to this Earl Nightingale recording from like the 60s, and he talks about this incredible story. This guy, in his yard, he had this big, massive piece of granite. And he looked at this piece of granite, and he looked at this piece of granite, and he goes, you know what, I'm going to do something with this. And so, total amateur, he went and grabbed a little hammer and a little chisel, and he started chiseling at this huge piece of granite. And after time, and after a lot of attention, and a lot of perseverance, he turned this granite into this giant, perfect-looking elephant. And it's kind of crazy, and his neighbors and his friends came over, and they're like, what did you do here? This is incredible. Like, how did you make this piece of granite into this like real life-size elephant? And he said, I just chipped away everything that didn't look like an elephant. I just chipped away everything that wasn't the elephant. And I think that story just gets me so pumped up, because I think a lot of times we focus on all the things that we can add to our lives, all the things that we need to be better at, all the things that we need to improve on. And if you flip it on its head, you really look at what are all the things that are stopping you from becoming that real estate entrepreneur, from becoming that successful person, from becoming a better husband or a better father or a better mother, or all these other things. What are the things that you have to chip away at? Some of these negativity, right? Some of this pessimism, some of this self-doubt, some of these self-limiting beliefs, some of the past. Oh my gosh, the past just clinging on to you and holding you down and saying, you can't do that. You tried that before. It didn't work. But you just keep persevering, and you keep chipping away and chipping away and chipping away. And I think that that's just a beautiful analogy. And I keep it in my head now. I mean, it's like so powerfully, like the image of it is so incredible that this big piece, this regular rock was turned into something beautiful and powerful and magnificent. And it was from taking things away from it, not by adding to it. And I think that's really, really, really interesting, because I think most of the time it's not the inspiration that we lack. It's not the direction that we lack. It's not the action items that we lack. It's our own self holding ourselves back. It's stopping us. Something is blocking us. And I think most of that comes down to our hallucination of who we think that we should be already. And that is a huge, and it's like poison in our minds. It truly is. Like, if you're thinking to yourself, oh, I have to be like this by this time, and if you're not, all of a sudden you're disappointed, and your energy's going into all of these negative thoughts, all of these, oh, I wish I could be that, or I should be this, and why isn't it happening right now, and why can't I get it as fast as that other person? If you let all of that into your mind, it's going to prevent you. It's going to slow it down, if not completely block it. It truly is. So look at it. Think about all the things that you can get rid of. Think about all the doubts, all the distractions, all the disappointments that you can get rid of. Chip it away. Chip it away. And it doesn't have to happen all today. You don't just turn into this big, magnificent granite elephant today. No, it takes time to chip that away. But if you take that conscious effort, if you really, really, really make it important to chip away all of these things that are stopping you from becoming that real estate entrepreneur, from becoming that millionaire, from becoming whatever that goal is, whatever your rock is, whatever that goal is that you're going to chip away all of these things that are stopping you. You've already got all the things. You've got the instruction. You've got all of it. I mean, you literally have the game plan. You could get it all in this channel. For being a real estate entrepreneur, but for everything else, whatever it is, however you want a well-balanced life, just chip away all that negativity, chip away all that self-doubt, and don't beat yourself up for not being the person that you think that you should be at this moment. All right? Oh, man, I love that story. Just keep it in your mind. Keep a big granite elephant in your mind and see how that affects your day, because we only have today. We can only control today. Tomorrow is fantastic. We can look at tomorrow, and we can hope, and we can have faith, right? And we can put the work in today so that tomorrow is better. But yesterday's gone. Water under the bridge. Let's get rid of it. Let's get rid of all those things. I didn't make calls yesterday, Brent. I didn't do anything yesterday. I lost a deal yesterday. All of these things happened yesterday. Great. It's gone. It's gone. See ya. Right? It is gone. All right. Good. Well, let's start talking about the reason we're here, and that's the eviction moratorium. Welcome, everybody, to Real Estate Investing Live with Brent Daniels, a.k.a. Mr. TTP, a.k.a. Mr. Talk to People, a.k.a. Mr. E.S. Crow. Escrow, that's what I'm talking about. Escrow, Mike. Escrows, getting deals. That's what we do in this business. That's what we do on this channel. So let's talk about this moratorium, all right? Now, listen, this is kind of crazy times. The CDC put this moratorium on the evictions. It was never really a legal thing. It was just thrown there because we were dealing with a pandemic. And it's been 18 months, and now that is gone. Matt, will you pull up my computer real quick? Right here, you can see, and this is just from CBS News from a few days ago, 3.5 million U.S. households could lose their home, Goldman Sachs estimates. Now, listen to me. Here's the fact. They're estimating about 700,000 evictions between now and the end of the year, all right? So what does that mean for us? What this means for us, you need to flip this a little bit. What this means for us is out of those 700,000 people, how many people can we help out? How many tenants can we help avoid getting a eviction on their credit score, on their record? Because it is very, very, very difficult. Listen to me. We have a housing shortage. We've talked about it a ton of times on this show. We have a housing shortage. All right, there is not enough houses being built to keep up with the demand, to keep up with the population. There has been a reduction over the last 10 years from 2011 to 2000, really from 2009 to 2021, a reduction of what is it, 20 million houses that weren't built that usually are built during that time. So there is demand for these rental properties. There is, people are, once an eviction happens, somebody else is going to move into that house right away. So that puts the landlords really want to get their rental income back going, right? And so they're going to try to get people that aren't paying out of the properties. Now, we can save these people by helping them out by a simple method of cash for keys. All right, here's the thing. Some people that are either mad about the pandemic or they're mad about their landlord, wanting money for their property or whatever else, or wanting rent that was already agreed on, or maybe they just got destroyed. Maybe their job or their industry or in their city or their town or whatever really took a hit during this pandemic and they just cannot figure out what they're going to do. That's where we step in. All right, now listen. You can pull the eviction notices from your county. That's going to be the best, most up-to-date. Now, what I will tell you is this. The counties are slammed. You are the lowest priority for them to give you a nice, clean eviction list. All right. Now, there's some companies that put it together. I haven't really found one that's super accurate. If you guys know of one, please put it in the comments. I would love to check that out, love to test it out. But everything that we've tested out has not been really accurate. It's about 30, 45, 60 days behind. And maybe that's just because the last 18 months is all congested into the recorder's office, because every eviction gets recorded. I mean, it's a court order, so that that's public notice. You can get a list of all those. But truly, what I'm talking about is you're going to run, if you are calling on absentee owner properties, you are going to run into evictions. You're just going to run into evictions, right? You're going to run into a situation where the tenant's not paying, and now you got a landlord that's not happy. You've got a tenant that's not communicating, and you need to bridge in the middle, okay? You need to be the one that explains to these tenants what happens if they get evicted. Matt, if you would. This is what you need to communicate to these tenants, all right? If they get evicted, I mean, this could stay on their record for 7 years. It's really difficult to get and remember, I just talked about the housing shortage, and if people want to get into their own properties and they want to compete against other tenants, if they have an eviction on their record, it's going to be really, really, really rough. It's going to be super rough. They better have a family connection. They better have put a significant amount down that they probably don't have, right? So avoiding the evictions is huge, and we need to communicate this with the tenants. If the tenants just say, hey, listen, let them evict me, I'll get evicted whenever, and then I'll figure it out, maybe they don't understand the ramifications of that decision, all right? So one, it's really difficult to get into another house or apartment. Two, it will affect their credit report for sure, right? And that's going to stay on there. That people can put, landlords are putting tenants into collections for unpaid rent. All right. It can affect, obviously it's going to affect their ability to buy a house. I mean, that's easy. And then you have to show up at court for these things. If you don't, boom, landlord wins and you get all your stuff thrown out on the street. So it's really, really, really important that we go and we communicate with the tenants and say, listen, please, you have two options. You can have all these 5 terrible things happen, or I can give you 500, 1,000, 2,000, whatever it is, whatever market you're in, and I can give you this money to find somewhere else to move so that you don't get evicted from this property. All right? Because the landlords, a lot of the times, they don't deal well with emotions, so they're just going to let the courts handle it, and they're just going to be like, you know what, whatever. I'm going to evict this tenant. They haven't paid me. I've given them warning after warning after warning. It's been 18 months. They're still not communicating with me, and there's that friction between the landlord and the tenant, and it is up to us to prevent people from getting evictions. And that is communicating really effectively with those tenants. And the way to open this up, the way to communicate with them, obviously you want to try to get them on the phone. And when you get them on the phone, you need to communicate. Your landlord is selling this property. I want to help you move out as smooth as possible. I want to hear your side of what's going on. And then just shut up. Let them talk. Let them go through all of their sob story or all of their situation, or let them be short with you or whatever it is. But just let them talk. Let them understand that you are on their side. You can help them out. If they feel comfortable with you, they will be open to you helping them. But if they think that it's all your advantage, you're just trying to get them out so that you can make profit and you can make money, it's going to be difficult. It's just difficult to really effectively build a strong relationship with that tenant. All right. And that's what we really need to do, because I'm telling you, if you can, and on the flip side, I'm going to get there to the landlords. You go to the flip side, the landlords, do you know how much money you can save them if they don't have to go to an eviction court? They don't have to go through this whole thing. They don't have to go and all of a sudden their property has somebody's personal belongings all on the outside of it, and it was locked by whoever gets all the personal property out of a property. No landlord wants all this stuff in front of their property. Nobody wants to see that. It doesn't look good in the community. It doesn't look good for that property. It's just not good for just the overall community aspect of that neighborhood, right? So you can help prevent that. And that's what you need to go, and you need to talk to those property owners. If people are stiff-arming you and they're saying, well, I can't sell this property until I evict my tenant, this is the alternative. I completely understand, Mr. or Mrs. Property owner, but if I could help you avoid all of that, if I could step in and make it a lot smoother transition to get the tenant out of that property, would you be willing to work with me? Ooh, now we're talking real value. Now we're not just talking, here's cash for your property. You are solving a huge problem. Not only the amount of time it takes to go through this eviction, not only the money it takes to go through all this, but you're dealing with all the emotions and all of that. You're taking all the friction out of this process. You're playing middleman, and you are helping both sides. And I am telling you, that is why we get paid so much. That's why we get paid so much. We get paid so much because we solve those problems. Nobody else is going to solve it. Who's going to solve it? Real estate agents? Nah, come on. The landlords and tenants themselves? Nah, come on. Maybe if they know each other a little bit, but for the most part, there's nobody. There's us. That's why it's such a great opportunity, because now the landlords can evict these tenants. Before, there was no threat. The tenants could just kick it in there and just chill. right? And they're not really worried about this hitting their credit and really worrying about evictions on their record, right? Now there's a reason, there's a motivation. They need to move. They need to get out of there. Whatever situation they're in, they need to be able to find another place to live that is more reasonable for their budget, right? Or for wherever. Maybe it's moving in with family. Maybe it's just a cheaper place. Maybe it's a totally different area where there's more job potential. But you're going to help solve that problem. Make sure this is the instruction for this training right here. Make sure that that those tenants understand the 5 consequences of what will happen if they get an eviction, okay? And then on the other side, communicate with the landlord. Tell them, this is exactly what we do. This is exactly what we do. What we do is we solve this. We make this go as smooth as possible so you don't have to go through all the attorneys. You don't have to go through all the courts. You don't have to go through all the backlog of evictions that are going on. In Phoenix itself, Mike, in Phoenix is 20,000 evictions filed last week. 20,000. You think the courts are ready for that? You think attorneys are ready for that? Do you think the landlords and the tenants? No. That's where we get in. That's where we step in and we really make a difference. So go out there, communicate with those property owners that you can help them out, and communicate with those tenants that they can avoid the eviction. All right?
So I just want to add to that. So now that these protections have been lifted, right, what can make it so tough for a tenant to re-rent is each month that they get deeper into the landlord, a new landlord, a traditional landlord, an apartment, they're going to make you go back and pay that off first before they even consider you. So it's not like you just get to walk away from that.
Nope.
You know?
Nope. Yeah, and if you make it really simple, and if you're able to get that property owner out, like the investor wants to just cash out, be out of the business. Trust me, there has been more talk from landlords of, oh my gosh, wow. Like, this really hit me hard. Like, I have 12 properties and none of them, half of them pay, half of them don't, and it's this whole stress. People are like, you know what, I need to trim this down. I need to really liquidate some of these properties. The market's at an all-time high, you know, and they're getting rid of these properties. It's a huge opportunity. It's the perfect storm for us. It's the perfect storm for wholesalers. It's the perfect storm for real estate investors. It's the perfect storm to sorry, I'm trying to get into PropStream here and it's messing with me.
And also, because a lot of these landlords, after going through this, I mean, they're just itching to get rid of the thing. They got a sour taste in their mouth. I mean, they want to move on.
Yeah, that's it. They want to move on, and that's it. So, guys, in 10 minutes, 12 minutes at 10:30 Pacific time, acquisition manager of the century, Ryan Thronton, my acquisition manager, is going to be coming in. He's going to give you real life. He's going to be answering some questions that you might have in the field, working with these tenants, working with these landlords. What are the best practices that we're using actually in our business so that we can get these deals? And not only that, but the deals that we get that are tenant occupied are massive deals, because you just solve a bigger problem. You're providing more value. So it's equal, right? You want to make $100,000, provide $100,000 worth of value. And then the beautiful thing is you work, you're providing value. You get money. It comes in and you've got a nice, healthy, heavy bank account. And then all of a sudden that heavy bank account turns into investments, and now your money works for you. You're not working for it, because all of a sudden, what are you doing? You're buying properties. That's providing value. What are you doing? You're putting it into the market. That's providing value to whatever company you're doing. You're lending money. You're providing value to other investors. I mean, it is beautiful. You make that money from the amount of value you provide is your income, but then your money starts working for you. And that's how people build wealth. That's what this show's about. Wholesaling, real estate investing, and building wealth. That's it. Boom.
Hey, Brent, what percentage of your deals are tired landlords?
80%. Yeah, 80%. 80% are non-owner occupied, whether they're vacant or with tenants. Yeah, especially, Mike, when we go after land, when we go after multifamily, those are really big deals for us. Yeah, they're fantastic. And owner occupied is just tougher because, a lot of times an owner occupied property, that's all of their investment. They want to get as much out of that property as possible. And most of the time people keep those properties up more than a tenant would, or more than, they upgrade it often.
Just real quick, so for anybody who doesn't know cash for keys, just what's the basics of that, and then what's kind of a range of cash for keys that what would you typically give? What's the most you've given? What's the least you've given? That kind of a thing.
Yeah, that's nice. So basically cash for keys is I will give you cash. Once we close, I will give you cash for you to get out of the property, give me the keys, and leave the property vacant. So typically what happens is there's a post-possession agreement, because you don't want to give money to a tenant before you own the property, or before you transfer that property, or before your cash buyer owns that property. And then what you do is you just put in the, you give them the money from the proceeds of the sale. Right? And then they have a certain amount of time to get out of the property, and that works really well.
So you would have a post-possession agreement with the tenant.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, it depends. Like if they're like, "Hey, give me $500 and we're out," we'll risk $500. We'll give them $500 without closing. If it's 1,000, maybe 1,000. We'll give up to 1,000. If it's more than that, you just never know. There's no guarantee that they're going to move out, and I don't want to lose $1,000 for nothing, and then they just disappear, and then you're chasing them. So, people get real motivated when they know that they've got some income coming in, and I always suggest that you get it closed and then pay them. Yep. And the nice thing is, most of the time it goes really smooth. Yeah, most of the time it goes really, really smooth, and they just move on and find somewhere else to live, which is great. But it's just communication. A lot of the times they're just not answering the phone to strangers. Sometimes you have to go to the door. Sometimes you have to really try to, pop up in their life, whether it be their social media account, DMing them, texting them, calling them, voicemails, whatever it is, to try to get a hold of them so that you can communicate with them and try to give them some money, or they just, have an eviction on their credit and they still owe. Sometimes they make the people getting evicted pay for the attorneys of the landlord. Isn't that crazy?
Something important that you said is most of the time it goes smoothly. Because a lot of people, they hear the horror stories, which don't happen a lot.
Right.
But yeah, that's good.
Most people are reasonable. Most people are very reasonable. Yep. Awesome. Well, let's open this thing up so that we are rocking and rolling before Ryan gets in here with some questions. Let's do this thing. Cody. Hey, Cody. TTP family. There we go. Should we do tired landlord, vacant, or both? Both, always. Listen, expand your lists. If you are using a dialer, batch dialer, if you are using a dialer and you are calling on a consistent basis, you're going to need big lists. You're going to need big lists. So make sure that you get those big lists. Do both. Both of them will work. Obviously if they're vacant's always goofy, right? Vacant is just pulled from the USPS, the United States Postal Service, non-deliverable vacant property list. That's where everybody pulls their data from, because there's not somebody going around in every community checking everybody's door to see if people live there. That'd be creepy, right? So it's just based off the USPS. Our package is being delivered there. Sometimes people pull, is the water turned on there? Is the electric turned on there? It just depends. That's not very accurate all the way around. That's why I love driving for dollars, especially getting out there. Now, if you have to virtually drive for dollars, that's fine. But I like driving for dollars, which literally is just getting in your car, your bicycle, walking, whatever you want to do, and finding properties that look like they need significant renovation and updating. So you're gonna hit a lot of birds with that one stone, Cody, with driving for dollars. Nice. I think I heard Ryan. Property fast cash. When searching for tired landlords, how many years of ownership do you usually search for? And when the owner is a corporation, this is great. Yes. Tired landlord, 7 years. 7 years is what we're looking for, because that's the average time to turn it over. Now, when it comes to a corporation, yes, we do skip trace them, because batchskiptracing.com pulls LLCs, trusts, all of those things. So yes, you can skip trace all those. Batchskiptracing.com. Make sure you use the coupon code TTP. Do we have a little roller there, Matt? There we go. Both with the dialer and with skip tracing. It makes it super, super easy. And who's here? The Mantis himself, RT, Ryan Thronton. Welcome. Welcome. Come on. Come on. Here we go. So, guys, listen, this is Ryan. Ryan is my acquisition manager. Ryan is the one going out there and locking up all these deals with all of the property owners. And not only that, but working with a lot of tenants to get them into their next place. So today's whole show is about evictions, about working with tenants, helping tenants avoid evictions so it's not on their credit, how that's a huge responsibility for wholesalers around the country to help out these tenants that, there's usually friction between the owners and the tenants.
Right.
Is that right?
Going on for a little while.
Yeah.
Right. And so
18 months.
Yeah. It comes to a head, and it's just a whole lot of emotions involved, and you're right, I'm wrong, you're wrong, I'm right, that kind of deal, and nothing gets done.
Right. Right. So when you go into that, how do you approach the tenant? Like cold. Like we've got a great opportunity, we've got a great deal, but the tenants are they either won't let us in the property, or they don't want to move, or they won't communicate. What do you do?
To be honest,
yeah.
I'm all on their side.
Right.
And the landlord is wrong, and I'm in their court, and I want to help them. Like, something is going to happen. Something is you're going to have to move. That's not something that I can control, but I want to help you with the next step. So how can I do that for you?
That's the approach.
That's the approach.
And do they usually open up when you say stuff like that?
They usually talk a little smack about the landlord, and it's like, oh, I've done this and I've done this, and it's always that, and it literally
they haven't even fixed up the whatever.
There's always something to say that they're at fault, and I'm in the right, that kind of deal, and it always comes down to, okay, and I get that and I understand that, and I'm not arguing that, but something is going to happen in the next 30 days. And so what can we do to soften what is going to happen in your world?
I love it. Guys, in the comments, ask questions for Ryan. I am telling you, he is doing this every single day he's out there. He is either following up on the phone or going on these appointments. You even stop by with some of these tenants and talk to them.
Oh, absolutely.
Remember the one in Scottsdale?
Yeah, I try to stop by and see all of them. If they're within my location, my proximity.
What's your bubble?
Well, I mean,
drive time.
Typically, I'm an hour and a half.
Okay. 90 minutes.
Yeah. But again, it kind of depends on the situation. If I have to go somewhere because it's going to make it easier on them, it's going to make it easier on us, then it's worth the time.
Well, I always find it crazy when it's like a property's an hour away or 2 hours away. It's a smoking hot deal of like $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, and people won't go to the property to check it out or go to the property to have a community, to talk to the tenants.
Because they're worried it won't be worth it.
Right.
But I tell you, when you get that FaceTime, it's so much better. It's just like trying to get negotiating over the phone. Like, oh, hey, I want to give you this for your property, but until you get in front of them, that real rapport isn't really developing. And it's the same with tenants. Like, they're in an emotional state, and if they're not looking at a person wanting to help them face to face, it's not any different than their landlord calling them and going, hey, I need you to go.
Yep, love it.
Yeah.
What do we got for Ryan? Let's open this thing up.
Give it to me.
Maurice, how does that initial phone conversation sound with a tenant that's about to be evicted?
So just like I mentioned, so if I get them on the phone first, I will see that one thing. It's like, hey, this is what's happening. You're the landlord selling the house. We will be purchasing it, and I want to talk to you about your options. Can you tell me, what you've been thinking about and what's happening in your mind right now moving forward? And they kind of break it down. Oh, I haven't even found a place yet. Okay. What are you looking for? And then you kind of just go down the list of what's going to help them on that next step. And I really do at that point, I'll say, hey, can I come by? Can we talk about this? Because it gives me an idea to get in front of them, but also see the house, and do all those things that I would need to do anyway.
I always like that. Going and seeing and being in front of them face to face, knee to knee, belly to belly. That's probably one of the reasons why I've been expanded across the country, is because I really like getting it. It tells the story. When you sit next, when you see somebody and you see kind of how they're living, you're seeing what's going on, the clothes that they wear, the car that they drive, how you can help them out, what's really important to them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You see it in their eyes.
Right.
You know what I mean? You see it in the way that they treat you. Are they real guarded? Are they real open? Are they somebody that that you can work with easily, or is this going to be a challenge?
Right,
and that's tough to do.
Yeah, and I understand virtual wholesaling it's a thing. That's what's happening. But if you are not within a distance that makes sense to you to drive, do they have Zoom? Do they have FaceTime? Like, try to show them your face. You're a real person. You're not gold chains and hair slicked back cut. It's like you're just, it's like, hey, this is who I am, and I want to put a face to a name, and let's try to get this figured out for you.
Yeah, good question, Maurice.
Absolutely,
it's awesome. Scott, when does Ryan take over a lead? Cold call, warm lead, closer. Perfect.
Yeah.
Good question.
So I have some, so let's put it this way. So we have Chad. Chad will filter through the leads, and he'll give them to me essentially within like a month or so. Yeah. That's typically when it comes down, like a month, the pillars are there, and then I'll take over a lead, and then from there we can work it towards hot. But also it really kind of just depends. Sometimes all the pillars are there except for timeline. And I'll want to take that right now, because will I be able to shorten that timeline? And that's kind of what this deal is. You have you want to be able to get a deal now, and because then you prevent someone else from taking that deal from you later.
Time kills all deals.
Time kills all deals. Yeah. So I will take a lead basically in that warm to hot. Hot's for sure, because that's when the deal is happening in the next 24, 48, 72 hours. But again, I look at all those leads and I go, okay. Yeah, this makes sense. Let's see if I can shorten that timeline and get this deal closed a little bit faster.
Yeah, if you see it here, lead comes in. Can you see it? Ryan's got to move out of the way a little bit. Can you see it? There you go. Lead comes in. It gets qualified, guys. The 4 pillars. That's what Ryan was talking about. The condition of property, their timeline to sell, their motivation to sell, and their price. Now it goes to the junior acquisition manager, and he's warming these up until number 2 there, the timeline, is ready. They're ready to make a decision. They're going to sign an agreement with somebody in the next week or 2, okay? Then it goes to Ryan. Ryan then gets in there, follows up, gets on the appointment, really gets it and closes the deal.
And in that qualified box, those are your cold callers.
The cold callers are above this. The cold callers sent in the lead.
Okay.
So all the addresses are where the Rhino's at, right up here. And then once they say yes, they will consider an offer, goes to lead. We make sure that it's qualified, that they're not just wanting over retail, that it's not this big, beautiful house, that it's something that needs some work, needs some love. It's going to probably be in our buy box. And then it goes to Chad. Shout out to Chad. I think it's his birthday today. His birthday. Chad yes. Got married Saturday. Congrats. And his birthday. Woo! What a week. And acquisition to Ryan. There you go.
Yeah, it's a good question. Sometimes it's hard to kind of prioritize, who you're giving your leads to, but you want to limit the amount of leads your acquisition manager has to those ones that are ready to go right now, because they can focus on those a little better.
And what a lot of people do is they use a VA, whether it be through call motivated sellers. They do a really great job. They just open that up now, or somebody that is just warming up the leads. They're not necessarily in their business, but they're really good at sales. They're really good at qualifying, and then they'll really, really get it to the point, and then they'll turn it over to the owner, yourself, or if you have an acquisition manager, that. But that junior acquisition role is really, really important if you're bringing in a significant amount of leads.
It's huge.
Yep,
it's huge.
Yeah, if you're proactive, if you're out there picking up the phone and talking to new people every single day, I'm telling you, you're going to get a lot of leads. You need to filter those leads and find the people that are going to do business really soon, really soon. Time kills all deals. All deals. So make sure that you lock it up. If there's ever a question, hey, I could lock it up now, but no. There's no buts. Lock it up right now and then figure it out. All right? Lock it up. Make sure that you're doing what's best for the seller, obviously, but lock it up right now and move forward with that deal. Even if they need a long escrow period, even if they need 60 days or 75 days or 90 days, get that commitment from them and over-communicate with those property owners so that they stay in the saddle.
And over-communicate is key, because how many deals get lost when you have those long close dates and you don't talk to them for a month or whatever. So, I mean, how hard is it to just send a quick text and go, hey, this is so-and-so, just wanted to follow up. Do you need anything from me?
Yep.
It's a big deal.
Do you need anything?
Yeah.
That's a great question. Do you need anything from me? Nope, we're good, thanks. And then I think also if you do get into those long escrows, long period of times, you need to have that conversation with the owner and say, hey, listen, as soon as I open up escrow, there's going to be more people coming at you. They're going to be coming at you. They're going to be offering you more. They're going to be talking. They're going to be trying to sweeten you up and get this deal. We are committed. Do not let them try to get you to breach this contract. This is a legal binding contract. Do not, I want to be in a position so that this goes as smooth as possible. So if anybody reaches out to you, you give them my number, all right? You give them my number or give me their number and I'll take care of them.
Yeah,
you don't have to deal with it. Yep. Maurice, there you go. Ooh, I love it.
Yes. So,
wow, you're asking the right guy. I'm telling you. Here we go.
When you're talking to people, the one thing that everyone wants to do is be like them. You want to connect, right? And some people will go in with some false connections. They yeah, they talk about NASCAR or hunting or football or whatever it is, and you don't do any of those things. Like, be real. Be real with people. Come in with a servant mindset. Like, hey, I'm here for this, and I want to help you, and this is what we're doing. And so if you're real with people and you listen, and listen is a big key word here too, because everybody wants to fill space and talk about themselves because that's what they're comfortable with. But listen to what they're saying. Ask qualified questions, because the whole key to rapport building is finding out what they're wanting to do. Like, what are their goals? What's their life about? What's their life going to be about in the next 30, 60, 90 days, and how can you be there to help them with that? And so listen, ask qualified questions.
Understand, Maurice, their communication style, right? If they're older, if they're speaking slower, if you go in there bombastic like me, just doing my, doing this show, it's going to like scare the hell out of them. You know what I mean? Slow it down, understand, mirror and match the way that they are communicating with you. Ask really great questions and actively listen to the answers. Don't just be like, how long have you owned the property? What do you think of the neighborhood? How old is the water heater? Right? That doesn't work, right? Just actively listen. Like, you can ask questions, but you can also ask questions badly. So ask questions in an engaging manner that you're listening to the answer and you're letting them respond and you're communicating the way that they want to be communicated. If it's a driver, if they're like, give me the price, what is it? Come here, I don't care, I know that it needs work. You give me the price as is, it's yours. Okay, great. This is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna give you this price, it's gonna go to this title company and it's gonna close in this day. Does that work? Yes, great, sign here. Okay. Right? I mean, it's mirroring and matching their communication style and somewhat their personality. Typically, you're not going to get their full personality the first time out because everybody kind of puts up their force field, but they will. The way that they communicate is a good indication on, warming them up, letting them feel comfortable with you so that you can ask the questions and see if you can actually solve their problem. If you can't, then give them, whatever alternative that they need to solve their problem. But for the most part, you should be in a position that a cash as is offer solves their problem if you're going after the right distressed property.
And Maurice, I try to make a habit that anytime I have an appointment, I try to sit down with them first. They know why you're there, so the first thing they want to do is, okay, well, do you want to walk around? Like, what do you want to go ahead? I'm like, hey, well, can we take a second and kind of sit down and kind of go over what it is that you're really trying to accomplish here, and am I the right guy for you? So let's
what's
hash
your goal?
What's your goal?
What's your goal? What's your goal with this property?
And can I help you with that? And so
I bet if when you ask that question, what's your goal? And whatever, specifically about that property, but nobody gets asked that question. What's your goal? What's your goal? What's your goals in life? What's your goal? That only 8% something have written goals in life. You're like, what's your goal? And they're like, oh my God.
And that's exactly what they say. They're like, I to sell the house. I go, yeah, absolutely. Okay. So what's that going to take? You know what? So try to sit down with them if you can. I know it's awkward, and sometimes, especially if they pull you in and go, all right, here's the bedroom. It's like, hey, I'll absolutely see some of those things, but I want to kind of have a chat with you real quick, if that's okay.
Nice. Get their permission.
Right.
Different. This is helping me right now lock up a deal. Thanks so much. All right.
That's
well,
awesome.
You know what? I'm
going
to read
it.
it.
Just
I'm
do
going to
it.
read it. I'm going to read it. Yeah, why not?
Hopefully,
different.
Hopefully, you're not watching this video as you're talking to.
Hey, it'll work. Just show them it. Yeah,
you're in good hands.
Yep, that's it. Patty, how do you feel about condos and townhouses? I like them, Patty.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, here's the thing that you have to understand about condos and townhouses. The beautiful thing is typically you only have to deal with the inside of the property. The complex, the HOA is going to take care of the exterior, the roof, those type of things. Now, mechanically, you're going to have to work with that, whether that be the water heater or the air conditioner, as long as they're not on a shared unit. If they're on a shared unit, again, it'll be the responsibility of the HOA. So typically, when it comes to a rehab on townhouses and condos, it's just the interior of the building that they're going to have to budget for, which makes it pretty easy and smooth to go in, do some cosmetic, do some updating, and make it really look great. You're not dealing with landscaping, you're not dealing with pools, you're not dealing with driveways, you're not dealing with any of that stuff. So it's easier for investors to be able to get in and get out, and a lot of first-time investors or fix and flippers look for those because they're easier. They're easier to kind of put your toe in the water. Now, the flip side of that is you really have to watch out for two costs. One is the HOA transfer fee. All right, you need to find out what the HOA transfer fee is, and it's very easy. Just look at either a current listing on Zillow or on PropStream or whatever else, or you look at one that's already sold in that complex, and you can see in the notes how much the transfer fee is. Typically, it's in there. Now, some HOAs, the transfer fee is like $3,000, $5,000. In a lot of retirement communities, you have to pay those big type fees that goes into the support of the whole community and the community center and the pools and all that type of stuff. Now, so watch out for that. There might be a significant fee there. And then also the monthly HOA fee, the monthly homeowners association fee, which usually covers water, garbage, exterior maintenance of the building, kind of a blanket insurance policy over the exterior of the building, all of these other things. So not to get in the weeds, just find out what the transfer fee is and what the monthly HOA fees are, and that way you can figure out if this is going to be a good deal. And then just use you just work the numbers like you usually do, Patty. Yep. Have you ever had any issues with them?
No.
No.
Nope. Comps are the same. You're
Yep.
just comping other.
It's actually easier. Because if you have you only need one comp in that community, and that's going to set it for the whole
tells
price.
you the story,
yep.
yeah.
Yep. So, I like it. I mean, imagine having like every house that you comped was in like the exact same neighborhood, exact same boxes, and you're like, oh, that one sold for $250. This will sell for $250.
It's not across a busy street,
Yeah.
a different neighborhood. So yeah.
Yep. Nice. Go for it, Patty. Juanita, go ahead.
Do you still follow up with sellers after they don't take your offer? If so, how often? It's a great question. If they have not sold their house yet, yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're continually following up because maybe they weren't ready today, but they may be ready, a month from now, 2 months from now. So as far as how often, you'd really just ask that qualifying question. It's okay, I understand you're not interested right now. Do you have an idea of when you might want to sell or move on or invest in another property? Mm-hmm. And then you kind of base it off that. Well, maybe next fall. Okay, all right. And then you spread out your connection with them, like every other month, every 2 or 3 months, however you feel comfortable, whatever timeline you have to work with. Yeah.
Yeah, and Juanita, if you get outbid by somebody, follow up with that property owner. Because, I mean, if they went bananas with their price, the likelihood that they're not able to complete that transaction is high. You don't know. Some people lock up deals at whatever price the seller wants and then try to beat them up in price at the very end, put the pressure on them, and sellers are not having it. They're like, no way, whatever, I'll cancel it.
I would love to be a backup offer for you.
Yes, love it. Yep, and then not only be in the backup, not only in their mind, but stay fresh stay in front of them, stay on their phone, stay in front of them on their phone, because listen, they'll forget. They'll forget what number you are. They may or may not have saved it. So make sure that you are being proactive during that 30, 45 days that they didn't take your offer. Hey, just checking to see, is anything getting a little wiggly? Are you feeling a little bit? Are your spidey senses or your instincts going off that maybe they're not coming up with what they promised? If so, if that ever happens, and I hope that it doesn't, I truly hope that it doesn't, I want you to get as much as possible for the property. But if it does, I want you to reach out to me. I got you.
I'm your guy.
Yep.
Girl.
Yep.
Person.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, Gabriel, thank you. How do you build a relationship with title companies in virtual markets? That's awesome, Gabriel. So number one is just reach out. You know, obviously you want to get a good referral to whatever market you're in. So join any of the fix and flip groups on Facebook and look for somebody that is doing a really good job in that area. You can even Google, you know, wholesale transactions in whatever city you are at, escrow officer, title company, whatever else it is, and see who comes up. Make sure if you can get a referral, that's the best. If you're squatted up, which you should be squatting up with other investors and wholesalers in that market, see who they are working with. And then from there, simply call them up and tell them, listen, I am every single day being super proactive to find some incredible off-market deals. Now, these transactions are going to need a little bit more work on your side, title and escrow, because there's no agents. But I can bring you a lot, and I'm going to try to make this go as smooth as possible. So just wanted to introduce myself. I'm going to be bringing you an escrow soon. And really, the biggest way to break the ice, Gabriel, is bring him a deal. I mean, if you need to, in your contract for the title and escrow company, put TBD, TBD by buyer. And then you can just determine where that's going, send that actual contract to that escrow officer and open up and build that relationship. But the relationship really builds on whether or not you're doing deals with them. That's it. And you're closing them. So make sure that you're locking them up at the right price, because you don't want to start off a relationship by canceling a bunch of deals, because escrow agents hate that. Escrow officers hate that when they've done all this work and the deal closes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So there you go. Great question. James, only working single-family houses leads right now with no luck. Should I expand to duplexes, triplexes, etc.? Well, first of all, James, never give up on just the single-family houses. Remember, you need 199 people to tell you to go to hell. Tell you no, tell you no way, tell you they want too much, tell you that you get a job, tell you, did you see a sign in the yard, tell you, you know, why are you guys all calling me? You're the 15th person to call me today. You need to go through 199 of those for that one that is like, yes, I do want to sell and close that deal. So remember, when you're talking with no luck, it's just not right yet. It's not yet. It will. All right. It's not even, it's a when. It's not an if. All right, so keep going after those. I love duplexes, triplexes. Ryan loves multifamily. Some of our biggest deals this year are from, and just historically have been with duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes. And James, don't be scared of the bigger stuff. Don't be scared of those 8, 16, 32, 64, whatever. Even if it's multi-millions, there's a lot of money right now, and a lot of people are putting money into property because they're very scared that these trillions of dollars pumped into our economy is going to create inflation, and the number one kind of shield for inflation is property.
You get those tired landlords from all those multifamily.
Oh, yeah, geez. Can you imagine being somebody that owns like a duplex, triplex, fourplex, hasn't really paid attention, and their tenants aren't paying them for the last 18 months? They're ready to go. They're ready, and now the tenant's got to do something. So it's the perfect transition time. I am telling you, it is the perfect transition time now that this has opened up. And it's really interesting. You know, Biden wanted to extend it. Supreme Court goes, I don't think so. Like, what are we doing here? This isn't even legal. But, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
There you go. I like that poll. You going on an appointment?
Yeah, I have one right after.
Where at?
Avondale.
Really?
Yeah.
Smoking?
Yeah. It's going to be good.
Yeah?
Oh, vacant for like 4 or 5 years.
No.
All messed up. Yeah.
Older property?
Older property.
In Avondale?
Yeah.
That's a newer area, so interesting. So older property, what's the price point?
So ARV is 200.
Okay.
Yep, and then he says it needs a new roof, and there was a leak, and it needs new flooring, and all the things we love hearing.
Oh, I love that.
Right?
Oh.
So we can go in and go, all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. What do you want? Do you know how much he wants for it?
Yeah. He said that he's gotten some offers in like the low, like below 100,000.
Right.
And so I'll see if I can get him to like much lower than that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good.
Yeah.
Here we go. Eric, I know rapport is important, but what type of questions do I ask while at the property with the owner? Ooh, I love
Yeah,
this. Now remember, just real quick before Ryan really gives you both barrels here, Eric, is all the questions really come down to the 4 pillars. So this is kind of the progression. You need to know the condition, timeline, motivation, price. That's the skeleton of conversations that you have as you're starting to pre-qualify and see if this is somebody that a cash offer will solve their problem. Okay? Is this person willing to trade equity or potential equity for speed and convenience? All right? That's what we're really trying to find out there. And then from there, remember, negotiating comes down to 3 things: the price, the terms, and you. That's it. The price, the terms, and you. Do they like the price? Does that make sense financially? Are they satisfied? Terms, are you closing in a manner and in a timeline that they're looking for, and making it as smooth as possible to do that? And do they trust you to get the job done? Do they want to work with you over the next 30 days? That's really the last part, is really the part that I think that you're wondering about, that rapport that you build when you get there. So how do you get that last part? How do you get that you part of negotiating?
Building rapport is tough, right? Because you have so many different personalities and so many different ways to communicate. And so you kind of have to look at the way that you communicate.
Yep.
And be real.
Yep.
That is literally the best advice I can give to people who are trying to talk to somebody they don't know. Be real. And your realness is going to show through as opposed to forcing a connection. So you're there for a reason. They know you're there for a reason. You don't need to be over the top, like, oh yeah, I have dogs. And oh, you have dogs. Oh yeah, I know. Oh yeah, my dog's
You like
fluffy.
bowling?
Yeah,
I like bowling.
You know, so it's really just like, hey, you know, like little questions. It doesn't have to be, you know, their life story, but just like little questions. And again, it depends on how you communicate. And you're like, hey, how long have you lived here? Oh, okay, yeah. You know, I noticed this. You know, you don't see this very often. You know, like, oh, did you do that? Like, so little things like that. But I'm telling you, Eric, don't try to force rapport.
Love it.
You know, just be real, be openly caring.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I want to buy your house, but I also want to make sure you're good in this next spot. Like, what's your plan? Again, it goes back to what are your goals?
Yeah.
And then that can kind of piggyback and carry into, you know, an open, more broad conversation, as opposed to, you know, how much do you want? I can give you this.
And I think just I would switch out the word rapport with the word relationship.
Yeah.
You know, because rapport to me seems very surface level. Rapport to me seems very calculated. Rapport to me seems very toss away, right? You could just toss away rapport. It doesn't matter. You could build rapport here, there, wherever else. It's like a psychological term that became popular over the last 30 years, is this word rapport. I like relationship. Go in there and just build a relationship. If you want to be interesting, be interested, right? Be interested in what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, that's what's going to bring that charm. That's what's going to bring that trust. That's what's going to bring that relationship, is be interested in them. Can I really help you out? Can I help you out with this cash offer? Will this really help you out? If you're there, like, selling yourself before they even ask something, and that was a big mistake I had, honestly, early on as a young man, really going in there and just trying to sell myself and how hard of a worker I was, and how I'm going to over-communicate and blah, 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 but nobody cares. All they care about is, can you solve my problem, and it's about them.
Yeah.
So if you ask them really good questions and you're interested in them, you're going to build a relationship with them, and they're going to trust you. And I'm telling you, like, you don't have to go in and, you know, put a pitch together. It's not pitching people.
Yeah.
It's just building a relationship.
Remember that the first biggest step is that they want to have a conversation with you. You know, and so don't overthink what's going to happen that next sentence, that next word.
Yeah.
You know, don't overthink it. They're having a conversation with you, and again, just be real and solve a problem.
Yeah. And when you're that, you can communicate normally. You don't have to be like, I wonder what I'm going to say next. I got to be ready to overcome objections and crush them, and, you know, really get them to sign the contract. Like, just calm down.
Yeah.
Just calm down. Just
Don't
be a
overthink
human
it.
with them.
Right.
These are your neighbors. They live in your community. You're cleaning up the community. They can't do it for whatever reason, so you're out there to help them out.
Be real.
Yep. Scott Jenkins. Hey, Scott. Hey, Brent. Closing another deal on the 17th of this month, 27.5.
On to the next one.
Come on, man. Here we go.
Awesome, Scott.
Awesome, Scott. That is, congratulations, Scott. I am telling you, that is amazing.
I love it.
I'll tell you what, all these salads, you peek and you ring in the bell and you see a little bit of the belly.
Yeah.
A lot less belly.
Oh,
a lot less belly, Ryan.
I made a pact. I eat way too much sugar. I ate so much sugar over this weekend. I felt sick. And you have to decide, is it worth it?
Is it worth it?
It's not.
It's
it never
not.
is.
It's
It never
not
is.
worth
It ruined like my whole Monday.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to go exercise. You got to oh gosh, what is going on?
It just makes you lethargic, and it's
Yeah.
bad for your joints and all these things. Yeah, cut down on sugar, people.
Cut down on sugar. Come on. What are we doing, people? Dale, what do you do to protect yourself on a deal in the event you lock up a property with a tenant and the tenant is not cooperating? Ooh, Dale, giving it to us.
That's nice.
Mm-hmm.
So protection is
You deal
tough
with this.
in a situation like this because you're in an agreement with the landlord, the owner, right? And so the tenant is, like we talked about it earlier, it's a sensitive subject. So you want to keep them from having to be evicted. Right, so you go in with that caring servant heart. How can I help you? And if you need to help them find a new place and all of these things, but at the end of the day, if you can do cash for keys,
that's it.
Let's get that done.
Well, let's be honest. I mean, over my career, probably maybe five evictions that I've gone through in 18 years. So most of the time you can solve it without having to go through the courts. Because once they start getting a lot of official letters sent to them and all of a sudden they have to show up at court and they have to do these things, all of a sudden they're willing to communicate. So sometimes, Dale, it's a little bit early in the process. They're not really feeling the pressure. You're going to start getting that later. And listen, sometimes they go to eviction, unfortunately. And that's just something that our cash buyers have been comfortable with. If the deal's big enough, if you're working with somebody that really has a troubled tenant, you need to get another probably 5 to 10% lower in price to make up for it with the cash buyer. Because the cash buyer, listen, some of these guys that we work with, they're doing 100, 200, 300 flips a year. They've got attorneys on staff ready for all of this. They also own big portfolios of property. So they're real familiar with the process of evicting, and they've got enough money in the bank to be able to float the property for a while. So they'll take the risk of evicting somebody because the numbers make sense, but you have to get a really good reduction if the tenant's just not cooperating at all.
And Dale, I understand an issue may be that you do lock up a property and you have no idea what's going on inside, right? So the landlord, he doesn't know, he has outdated pictures, and so that's kind of the buffer you need to give yourself too. Like, the landlord the owner can tell you as much as he wants, but he has no idea. Are the walls up? Is there flooding? So, being able to,
how many pets are there?
Yeah, being able to give yourself that buffer is important. But sometimes if you're not able to get inside the house, there's just nothing you can do. You kind of roll the dice and give yourself enough room for error.
Yep. Awesome. There you go, Dale. Should I have a website? Thanks, Brent. Gerald, if you're getting started, I would say this. I would say get a website after you've done 10 deals. I would. Let me ask you, Ryan. How often are people going, hey, do you have a website? I want to hear about your guys' company. I want to know if you're legit.
So
is it?
It does come into question sometimes because they have so many people trying to get a hold of them, and then at least every other person has a horror story.
Okay.
So they want to make sure you are who you are. So it's nice having ours. We can go, hey, this is our website. Go to the About Us section, and you're going to see me and my team. And that helps to the price, the terms, you.
By the way, let me explain something to you too. And this is not just for Gerald, this is for everybody. We've been testing this out and it's really interesting. It hasn't given us any results, but it's an interesting little advantage to have in our back pocket is we advertise, listen to this, we advertise monthly through the Better Business Bureau. How about that?
Yeah.
Did you know that they're a marketing company? Did you know that the Better Business Bureau isn't like some government agency? It's like an independent company that just puts together. It's basically like a shakedown to make sure that people are doing business. And listen, it's good. People should have somewhere to complain to, and that's the Better Business Bureau. But on the flip side, you can market with them. You can go, listen, I know that you've been dealing with these other people. Look at our Better Business Bureau relationship. This is the Better Business Bureau relationship we have, certified. certified. Not only that, but we have a great relationship with them. They actually let us market to their people that are coming to the Better Business Bureau because we are that good. We are that honest. We have that much integrity that the Better Business Bureau lets us advertise on their platform. Woo! Oh my. I hope people are watching this and be like, "What? That's bananas." Because it is. I mean, I heard about that and I was like, that is crazy. And actually, a lot of people, the way that I got yeah, there it is, Brandon. That is, I heard about that because real estate agents do it. And contractors do it. And a lot of people on the Better Business Bureau pay them to rank them. And it's interesting.
Yeah. So to answer the question, like, you do not need a website.
Right.
You can get deals done without it.
But it's an advantage.
But
now.
it is an advantage.
It's an advantage.
Yeah, because people can click on that and see kind of what you're about.
So real easy. Carrot.com does a great job. Carrot.com. If it's not in the budget, because they have ready-made ones. I know that. What's the other one? Some Propeller. Property Propeller. I think it's Property Propeller or something. Yeah, I mean, if you just Google ready-made real estate investing websites, you should be able to have something. You put your picture on it, and now you have a website.
I made a website in college.
There you go.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. It
was
was terrible.
What was it?
Well, they teach you to write code, and you have your own domain, and you kind of put things together.
What was the website about?
What was it for? No, yes, it was an exercise science date Ryan.com.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, no, I got no hits. My reviews were terrible, but I made a website. Yeah.
Hey, multi-talented. Holy cow! Now you don't have to do that. You don't have to write any code for like $20 or $30.
Call me up. I will make a website
don't
for
call
you.
He's too
I'll
no,
put a great
stop.
picture right
Stop.
in the center.
They'll call you up.
Yeah,
They're going to find you.
That's fine.
Dang it. Juanita, do you have a certain routine you do before and after an appointment?
A certain routine.
Yeah.
So when I first started this, I was over analyzing to the bone before an appointment because I wanted to know all the information.
That's great.
I wanted to make sure that I had all the comps and I had all the numbers, and so I could respond to objections. I wanted to know all of that.
Yeah.
And all it turned into was me putting a whole bunch of time into something that didn't really help me in the end.
Right.
I was told at the beginning of this, take imperfect action. And so the imperfect action led me to make more calls and go on more appointments and not be so overly concerned about the numbers.
Yep.
And so my before routine is I'll take a look at the house. I'll make sure I know the square footage. I'll reread the notes that I had about them, anything that would be important. And I go knock on the door, and then you just figure it out. After the appointment, again, I'll put in some little notes, and then I'll send a text like, hey, thank you so much for taking the time out to let me come by. I know you're getting bombarded, and I just wanted to let you know that I really appreciate it. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll get back to you, kind of deal.
Yeah, number one, routine should be show up 10 minutes early. I'm telling you, I cannot tell you how many investors show up late to appointments, and now you're on the back foot. Just show up early. Just sit in your car, whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
Watch this channel, listen to a podcast, whatever you need to do, and then get into that appointment on time or a couple minutes early. Because showing up late, it's just like rude, first of all. Second of all, it puts you on the back foot. Now you're apologizing. Now it's off to a weird start, and then whatever else. So show up early. Make sure that you look presentable. Make sure that you brush your teeth and you did your hair and your clothes aren't spotted with a bunch of food and stains.
Don't wear a hat.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Certain routine before an appointment. Don't wear a hat.
There you go. Unless it's a fancy hat, Juanita.
Like a cowboy hat?
Well, I don't know what Juanita's hat game looks like. She might have some cool hats.
What are those newsies? Like, do people still
she
wear
might look
those,
great
like
in a
those newsy
newsie.
hats?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, you sport it. Yeah.
Women have some great hats. A lot more options than men.
I need you to show me.
Oh, I'll show you. Hey, Mike, can you pull up some hats?
Show me. No, I need great hats. What does a great hat look like?
I'll show you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Off air. Or maybe we'll pull it up. We'll see. When you're talking to a seller and they're just a little unrealistic with their asking price, how can I politely educate them, or should I allow them to find out for themselves?
Sometimes you have to allow them, but I'll always say, hey, I will never tell someone what they should sell their house for. I can only tell them what makes sense to us.
Right.
You know, and this is what makes sense to us based off of X, Y, and Z. You know, this is what we're looking at, and what do you think about that? Like, what kind of research have you done? And always unrealistic is, okay, they asked for a price. Well, how did you get to that price? And that'll sometimes give you an idea of if they've done any research. Right. Sometimes they'll go, oh, that's just what I want.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is what makes sense to us, and you kind of go down the list of what you can do. And then sometimes, for lack of a better term, sometimes homeowners have to get kicked in the teeth.
Yeah.
You know, and they have to find out for themselves that this is I'm never going to sell my house this way. And then that'll really pin down what their timeline is.
Yeah, and what's their motivation? What's their problem? You know, do they actually have a problem? If they don't, then they can just wait. They can just wait it out.
Yeah.
They can just wait it out for as long as they want. They can wait it out for their price. They can wait it out for their terms. They can just, you know, some people it's like, if you give me this, then I'll move. Well, wait a second. What's the underlying, why do you want to move? Why do you want to sell this property? Why don't you want this anymore? And it's like, well, if I just get the money, it'll be great. That's not motivation.
The market's so high.
Right.
All right. Well, what's next?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. What are you laughing at over there, Jesse? Did you get a good one? Somebody
Did you find a great
stuff?
hat? Yes.
Oh,
great,
yes.
Great hats.
GFFF. What is the best price-efficient skip tracing software that you know? First of all, listen, you get what you pay for. The absolute best skip tracing is batchskiptracing.com, because you could go and get stuff for free. You could go into White Pages and get their stuff. You can go on.
That never works.
No, I mean it's all junk. So if you're paying 2, 3 cents, 4 cents, it's not going to be the right data, right? If you need to pay for the right data, and the right data gets updated all the time, and it costs a lot of money to get all this data from the credit companies. That's where it all comes from. Everything comes from all of these credit companies updating everything. They make sure that they have the right contact numbers for everybody. They spend a lot of money doing that to collect all that data, and then they sell all that data.
Yeah.
And Batch buys that data. They organize it, and they get it from 4 or 5 different spots. They combine it all together, and they give you the best.
Do you know how many people?
So I just want to mention, Brent, I mean, cheap data, it's frustrating calling it because your contact rate will be in the toilet. But not just that, you're missing out. You want to talk about what it costs? You're missing out on 30 to 40% of the numbers that otherwise these are opportunities that are lost, right?
Or 90% of the numbers.
Yeah, for sure. So 90%, like, do you know how many people I texted and called to try to find some of our football buddies that are like MIA from White Pages?
Yeah.
Oh, man,
no.
I got so many different people like, no, this isn't his number. No, what? I've had this number for 20 years. Like, No, not at all.
Don't go cheap there. Buy good data, because it's going to affect your contact rate. There you go. I'd rather you have less and good data than a lot of just terrible data.
Your contact rate and your overall well-being, because you're just increasing your nose.
That's it. Let's see a hat.
Give me a hat.
Let's see. Oh, that's nice. See?
So that's your idea of a great hat.
All right. That's Jesse's idea of a great hat.
I like it. The suit.
Idea.
It's I
assume that's at
Jesse.
a horse race, huh? Yeah. Okay.
Kentucky Derby.
Anyway. Cocoa dough. Cocoa dough. Cocoa dough.
Yeah.
Should you waste time viewing properties in person if seller hasn't signed agreement?
Waste time viewing properties in person if seller hasn't signed agreement. So I'd want to know, are you going to be in front of this person? Like, is this an appointment? Was this a set appointment?
Awesome. Yep.
That so you're going to look at the house and you're going to get an agreement when you're there. That's the hopes, or did you already send the agreement and now you're going? I would need a little bit more information, but I will always go to a property if I'm able.
Listen, if they're qualified.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Most of when we're getting started out, when we have a good conversation with somebody, and that's just somebody saying, yeah, I want to sell my house, why don't you come on by? And then we rush out there, and then we find out, wait, they want way more for their property, or wait, they can't sell this for another year, or wait, they just are bored and they just want to have an appointment and they just want somebody to talk to, and then you're stuck there for 2 hours talking to, an old dude that's like telling you everything about his life and how many trucks he's bought and fixed up and, all these things. This happens. This is real life. It's happened to me. So avoid this by making sure that you pre-qualify. Condition, timeline, motivation, price. Condition, timeline, motivation, price. Get those out of them before you go on the appointment so that you know if you're not only wasting your time, but their time as well.
If price isn't there, I'm still going.
Right.
Because again, you sometimes they're uneducated, or they're trying to high anchor you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So then they're just going to get people who just want to give them that and try to make it work. But if the price isn't there as far as what makes sense to us, but we have the other pillars, I'm going to go out and I'm going to try to figure out why that price is what it is.
And by the way, as you're getting going, I mean, it's good experience.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, it's a swing at the plate type of thing. It's a rep. So I don't want you doing that all the time with unqualified people. I want you to qualify them. But if they're high on price or unrealistic in price, or they're not giving you the price, or maybe they're not really telling you what their motivation, why they truly want to sell, that's a good opportunity for you to go there and test your skills and see how it is with you building that relationship, to see if they can, kind of melt the walls that they put up. Because they don't know you, and now they do, and now they understand you're just a neighbor, you're just somebody that lives in the community. So I don't think that I think that you can waste time if they're unqualified. If you've qualified them a little bit, you're not wasting time. You're getting good, valuable reps.
If you're trying to figure out how serious they are, they're probably doing the same thing to see how serious you are. How many people just call and don't show up?
Right.
Or don't even try to get an appointment and try to make an offer on the phone, but you show up, then that says something. It adds something.
A lot of people are coached to lock it up before you go to the house. Like, just lock it up sight unseen and then go and then get a price reduction if you need it. I don't like that. I mean, I just don't. There's too much slippage there. There's too much price reductions and anger, and then there's too many cancellations, in my opinion.
Sure.
I think that it can be effective. I think you can lock up more. And listen, that might fly in the face of lock it up as fast as possible, but I think you can get out there in a reasonable matter of time. If they're willing to sign a contract sight unseen today, but they won't see it till Friday, I don't know. Usually that's rare.
And you weigh the pros and cons of every situation, right?
And the price.
And the price.
Yep. Nice. That was the only fancy hat picture, huh?
That's what you got? Yeah. That was a fancy hat.
That was a fancy hat. Oh, Jennifer, come on. I just locked up my first contract. Same property that Brent gave me a comp on about a month ago. Yes. Jamil gave me the guy to do a JV deal with on Dispo. Oh, my gosh. Come on, Jennifer. Hey, you better put how much you're making, Jennifer.
That's awesome.
That is incredible, Jennifer.
Getting it done.
That is incredible. Congratulations. Oh, man. I would love to see what that comp was. I wonder which one it was.
A month ago?
Yeah. But that's great. Yeah, I'm good that I'm glad that you hooked in with Jamil and whoever it is. Maybe it's an Astro student or maybe it's a Keegley franchise. But either way, those are good options for getting those sold to real buyers that'll close. So congratulations, Jennifer. Awesome. Mo.
Does your acquisition team listen to the initial cold call before they call the warm leads, or do they call back strictly based off the notes? I trust my team enough to give me what I need through the notes.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, like if I look at the notes and I'm like, oh well, let's hit this question a little bit harder, then I'll address it during my call to them, just to kind of get a more in-depth answer. Whatever I feel like I need to go forward.
So when you're going through the notes, what are you looking for?
So I will look at
obviously the pillars, but
obviously the pillars, but then I'll look at some of the reasons. So you see motivation, but what is the motivation and what are the next steps? What are their plans? Because that shows me how serious they are.
Right.
And then, sometimes Chad will put in stuff like, oh yeah, they're from Ohio, or they're from, this place or that place. And those are some of the things that if you are real and it correlates with you, those are some talking points that you might be able to bring up when you have a meeting with them.
Love it. Yeah. And just kind of reading between the lines.
Yeah.
I mean, I always felt like anytime that I look at, that's why I love it. Jackie hates it that I like doing this, but I like printing out all the leads and looking at them and reading. She hates it. And I like looking at them, and I can see between the lines. You can kind of get an idea of what this person's feeling like because you go through it so many times. You don't want to get into, but Mo, I will caution you. You don't want to get into the point where you're hallucinating, making up too crazy of a story in your mind mind that they don't want to sell. You still want to reach out, let them convince you that they don't want to sell. Don't just go, oh, this is probably not even a good lead.
Yeah.
I'm going to just ignore this. And then you see it sell, and then you see somebody blast it out on a wholesale deal, and they make, right? Yeah, no. You don't want that, Mo. So make sure that you're still calling. But yeah, he just looks at the notes. The recordings, that's just for me. I like breaking them down because I'm a weird psycho. But we do a really good job of having those notes. Not only that, but Jackie is in that figure that I showed you real quick. In this here, Jackie does this. Jackie, our lead manager, makes sure that these are qualified. So if this thing comes in as a lead and it's not truly qualified, Jackie's here. She'll kick it back to get more information, and that's really helpful. So by the time it gets to Chad's already warmed him up, getting a lot more information, and then it goes to Ryan to get it closed.
And Mo, what I was doing when I first started this out, and I don't know if you're just starting out or whatnot, but I would listen to a lot of cold calls because that does help you with responding to objections and just kind of getting a flow of if it's your cold call or if it's someone else's, just having that perspective is really helpful on that next call.
Awesome. Rob, my partner and I hit our first deal after 20 years old. At 20 years old last week, 31K fee, all virtual. And come on, Rob. How much did he make?
31. I look back at this and wonder, could we have done this at 20?
Yes.
Should have done it at 20.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love seeing young people get out there and pound the pavement.
Ryan, it's a different world.
It is.
There was not access to the information.
Right.
There wasn't YouTube. There wasn't podcasts. There was a paywall. You had to pay to get past and be trained, or you had to buy CDs and like little notebooks that would do it, or you'd have to go to a seminar and go through that whole thing. Now, I mean, I consider this show like speaking on stage every single week. Yeah, that's how I see it. Like you know what I mean? That first little bar, then we got to answer the questions. But man.
That's all. Yeah.
I don't know. We were in college. We were athletes. We were doing whatever. We were just. There's something special about that time as well.
Sure.
That that you're not focused on just building business, but I think we probably would have. I think something would have. Yeah, something would have.
But
something. Because it was in my mind. I mean, Mike gave me the Rich Dad Poor Dad at 20 years old, so it started churning the wheels. So that was cool.
No, it's awesome.
Great job, Rob.
Good job,
20 years old, man. 20. Keep that money.
Yes.
Listen to me. Don't get all crazy. Don't be like, oh, let's take $3,000 for me, $3,000 for you, and the rest of the, what is that, $25,000? We're gonna go and we're gonna invest in this and that and this and that. Keep calling, keep building. 3 straight months of this, Rob. Then we start talking. But I want you to take that home, baby. I want you to feel that early on. Your first deals, it's actually going to you, paying off some debts, paying off, whatever. Keeping it saving, investing in something. Do something with that money, I am telling you. Keep doing what you're doing. And
good advice. Yeah.
And you're going to build it up. What? Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to buy a big old gold chain.
Yeah, that's it. That'd look good. Yeah.
And a fancy hat.
That's it. Jesus. Hey, Brent, if I am door knocking pre-foreclosures, okay, and the owner says they're going to file bankruptcy, what do I say? I am always there to add value and direct them in the best direction of possible. Yeah, so this one is a little bit tricky because you can't give legal advice, Jesus. And obviously I would see, okay, what attorney's handling your bankruptcy? Oh, nobody. Okay, are you sure you have to go through the bankruptcy process? Yeah, we absolutely do. And Jesus, what a lot of people are using this for is if a property is in bankruptcy, it's protected. Their owner-occupied property is protected in the bankruptcy. So they're not going to get foreclosed on while it's in the bankruptcy. They'll get foreclosed on it afterwards if they're not paying the bill and not restructuring the debt. But usually bankruptcies can take 9 months to a year to 18 months or whatever else. So it's kind of their way of stiff arming. So I would just say, okay, I totally understand. What attorney do you have handling that for you? and just see if they're really going down that path or if they're just thinking about it or they think that they have to because they're in pre-foreclosure.
Right.
And just say, hey, if you didn't go through this foreclosure, would you have to do the bankruptcy? No, I wouldn't. Oh, okay, so if we could handle it before the foreclosure date, that would work too, right?
Yeah.
That would be the conversation. But that's few and far between. That shouldn't be, you should be talking to so many people, so many more people that, you shouldn't be running into that too often. That should be, kind of rare. Pujad. Hi, Brent. Is it fine to call people after 5 p.m. weekdays and 9 to 5 on Saturdays and Sundays? My experience is weekday 9 to noon people are so busy in their offices. Help, please.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, test it out. I liked 9 to noon. I didn't have a problem getting a 10% contact rate 9 to noon with really good data. Just make sure that you're getting really good phone numbers. Make sure that you're using a dialer. And make sure that you are being consistent with it. And if you're not reaching them from 9 to noon or whatever else, and they're busy in their offices, it's probably a list issue, to be honest. If you're talking to people that are working and they're professional and they're like making a good income, typically the financial difficulties that they're having or distress that they're having isn't as strong as I'd like it to be, or not like it to be, but that we're going after these properties. So make sure that you're taking a real close look at your lists, and then if you want to test it out, test it out. But remember, sustainability is more important, Pujan. Sustainability. You need to have sustainable action, sustainable efforts, sustainable schedule, and you'll win.
Yeah.
Yep. Nice. Do we have any other fancy hats? No? You're just going to hit
He's
us
not even
with that
working
one.
on it.
He's
He's
not
like,
even
it's
working.
one hitter
just
quitter. Just
dude, he's just.
I did
he
it.
doesn't care.
Mic drop.
Freddie. How do you handle a situation where your buyer signs the assignment but doesn't pay the earnest money deposit to title? Well, we have in our assignment agreement that they have to put it in a certain amount of time. If it is the day before, it's noon the next day. If it's the morning, if it's afternoon that we're sending the assignment, they have till noon the next day. If it is in the morning, they have till 5 that same day to get the earnest money deposit in. One is communicate with them. Now, there's a big difference between, hey, man, I am getting stuck. I have to pick up my kids. I got to do this. I'm going to a project. I'm this. They're communicating with you. If they're communicating with you and they're explaining why they're not, give them a little bit more time. If they just commit to it, sign the assignment, ghost on you, and don't put their earnest money in, they are daisy chaining your deal. They're not closing it anyway. They're trying to sell that deal. And if they don't even have the money to put earnest money in, that is a red flag. Make sure in your assignment agreement, talk to a real estate attorney, talk to the title company, talk to a closing attorney and say, hey, listen, what do I need in my assignment agreement? By the way, you can get a copy of my assignment agreement in the ttpinsider.com, ttpinsider.com. You can get it in there and see what's in there. But talk to an attorney in your specific state and get the language that says, hey, if they don't deposit something in a certain amount of time, then the assignment is void and you can sell it to somebody else. That's how you deal with that situation. Good question. Alex, what are the typical roadblocks you see when assigning a foreclosure? None. Listen, when you're assigning a foreclosure, it's just like any other distress. You're going to have some challenges with timing. You just got to make sure that you are closing before the auction date, but the timing comes down with every property. You want to get these things done as quick as possible. So really not a lot of roadblocks with foreclosures. Just make sure that you know when the auction date's coming up and make sure that you get the transaction done and dusted, as they say in Scotland, before that time.
Done and dusted.
Done and dusted. There you go.
Fancy.
Yeah. Fancy guy. Not as fancy as
that hat.
Jesse's hat.
Yeah.
Real Estate Ray.
What do you say to the owners with vacant properties that don't want to sell? Well, that's fine. You can't make you sell.
Yeah.
What's your reason for keeping it? You know, and so that's essentially it. And people, they have property, they don't need to sell it, and they're just not going to sell it. It's yeah.
If you don't sell this property, what are your plans?
Yeah.
That's what I would ask. If you don't sell, I totally get it if you don't want to sell it, but you know, if you don't sell, what are your plans? You know, I know that with our vacant properties, I mean, I've got a commercial building that gets broken into 15 times a week because it's vacant. Honestly,
Yeah,
right?
I know.
They're coming through the walls.
He shows
now.
me all
Did I tell you
the
that?
police reports.
No, now that was sensors on the inside.
Through the wall.
Now they popped open one of the garage door things and they've eaten through the drywall. They're going through the drywall into these buildings. I'm like, they're doing our demo for us. I mean, it's fine, but it's not great. Anyway, so vacant. The reason I say that, Ray, is vacant properties get broken into. Vacant properties lose value. Vacant properties are a blight on the community. Vacant properties are, you know, kind of like a little bit of a beehive for nefarious activity.
Nefarious.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, it is. So,
and I would even ask, it's like, all right, well, I understand you're not selling, but if you were to sell,
Yeah.
what would you want for it?
sure.
And even get that.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
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 And do you have any other properties that you would sell?
Yeah, great, Mike.
Zachary, who's just slamming those drums.
Drums?
Yeah.
Man.
What is that? Hitting the sticks?
My mom wants to
Is
buy
that a saying?
my kids drums.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
Like,
Your
come
mom
on, because
better not.
because you hate me?
Yeah.
Like, what, was
Yeah.
that terrible of a
She's
child?
Get,
You
yeah,
want
she's
to...
getting you back. No, he's
Yes.
not. Yeah, you get him a drum set. It's going to end up at your house. All right. Zachary, if I've done a few deals but live in a rural area and buyers are rare, should I go virtual or do you need to establish in your home market first? Great question. I love that you're already doing deals. So first of all, you're doing deals in where you live. So keep doing that. You need to find a secondary market, Zachary. You need to find one. You need to find something that has 500,000 people plus, million people plus, preferably, because it's going to give you a lot of runway to be able to like really do this for a long time. So you're going to have to at some point expand your marketplace.
Yeah.
Yep. But you know, keep doing the deals that you've got at home, but look for something that's close to you that you think that you can get to, or something that you're interested in. Maybe you want to move there someday and start building that up. Rocking out.
I love it.
I wish I could play the drums. I think the drums would be cool.
I want to play the
Piano.
Like
Yeah,
Mike.
you're
Man,
right.
every time I see
No,
Mike on
I
the
know,
piano, I'm
I
like,
know.
I'm
I
like
know.
this.
I know. It's ridiculous. I took a video, like I put my phone up. It's like, learn the piano in 15 easy minutes. And I was like, okay. And I'm practicing. And Bo's like, shut up. It's too loud. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to practice with
my
these monsters.
fingers
Yeah,
hurt.
for sure. JC Wholesale, I'm starting. Should I focus on building a cash buyer list first? Well, it depends. You know, there's two trains of thought here, JC, and I love that you're asking this question. A lot of people think start with the end in mind, and that's fantastic. You know, you can play middleman. You can do a astro flipping type of strategy where you are working with the investors, agents, wholesalers in town, and matching them up with your cash buyer database, which is strong, and that's a great strategy. But I think it takes some time to build that up. If you go straight towards, and I think it's a lot easier to build up your cash buyer database if you have something to sell them. So if you're going to be going with the strategy, building up your cash buyer database, already have those deals from wholesalers, investors, agents coming through the door so that you can sell to them. I find bigger deals are going to come from when you go direct to the seller. You build up a really good business, a really good lead generation engine for going direct to the seller, coming up with really good opportunities and putting them out to as many people as possible. The one thing that happens when you build your cash buyer list first is there's going to be 2 or 3 people that are going to just sink their claws into you and be like, what do you got? What do you got, JC? What do you got? What do you got? Hey, you want to go to lunch? Hey, you want to go to happy hour? Hey, I'm doing this meetup thing. You want to come? Hey, what's going on? How can I help out? What are you looking at? What deals do you have? What's going on? And then you feel obligated to give these people your deals and you make half of what you should. So
What do you think about squatting up?
Yeah.
Finding someone who has a buyer's list
Yep.
and you guys
yeah.
elevate
And that
each
could
other.
be him. It could be
be.
JC. You could be the guy that builds up the buyers list. So it depends on your strategy. You could be the guy that does the dispo, which is a very strong business model, or you can go direct to seller. It's your choice what you want to do. So it just instinctually, what do you feel? Do you feel like you want to be the dispo guy, or do you want to be direct to the seller? And that's the decision you have to make. Yep. Either way, you're talking to people.
Yeah.
Either way, you got to be on the phone. Either way, you got to be proactive. Either way, you got to build up a network. So it's up to you. Nice. Mo. Well, here we go. We got a multi-sport athlete here. Actually, a tri-sport athlete here.
One was harder than the other two.
Well, I know it. I know which one it was. So we went to Northern Arizona University. I only played football. Ryan, what'd you do there?
I played football. I tried to play football.
Yeah, cornerback starting.
Tried.
Didn't redshirt. Went right on. Played as a freshman. Go ahead.
I ran track.
Yep.
I was a jumper.
Yep.
And then
Longest long jump?
Long jump, triple jump.
What was your longest long jump?
Oh, I was 22.
22 feet, people.
I was
22
yeah,
feet.
No, I wasn't the guy. There are guys jumping 24, 25.
Listen, 22 is incredible.
Yeah. Is it?
I think so.
All right.
It's like twice a basketball hoop.
Is it? Wow.
Yeah.
Well, since you put it that way, I feel so much prouder.
If it's laid down.
If it's
Not up.
Oh no.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah. And what else did you do?
And then I was a cheerleader.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's right.
So I had 4 years of eligibility for football and track, and then I had another year of school because I loved school so much, and I did cheer for a year.
That was awesome.
Yeah. No, it was the hardest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
Anybody who thought cheer was just like a whole bunch of people just flipping and do no, I was humbled. I got concussions. I broke fingers. It was tough.
Humbled.
There you go.
There you go, Mo.
Cheerleading is a sport. No, it is.
It's a lifestyle. I think. Are you still using Mojo Dialer? No, we're Batch Dialer. We've been pushing back ever since the big changes with the carriers and with their ability to do spam likely, and with all the changes with the Apple phones, just pulling on what they think are spam numbers in and blocking them completely. Contact rates went really down, and Batch Dialer came to save the day. So yeah, it's a phenomenal dialer. Helps you get those contact rates that you need. Yep. Trish. Hi, Brent and guest Ryan Thornton. Love the live sessions. Can you please advise on the most common objections you face when speaking with cash buyers? I am building my list now. Well, Trish, honestly, with cash buyers, there's not a tremendous amount of objections. You're going to get a lot more objections coming from the property owners, from the sellers of the property. Remember, Trish, you don't have to be a good salesperson to sell cocaine, okay? And that's what a discounted property is. Everybody wants it. It's like, you don't have to overly sell these properties. So sometimes people want to make sure that they understand the condition of the property. So make sure TTP Insider, I'm telling you, we have a whole list of the pictures you need to take in the perfect offer pack. In the perfect offer pack in there, Trish, it shows you all the pictures that you take so that you can get it out there. The description that you put on the property gives you some examples there. But truly, you don't have to oversell these things. A deal is a deal is a deal. The pro buyers in your market, the real cash buyers in your market, are going to see the opportunity. They're going to jump on the opportunity, and they're going to jump really fast. And they're going to try to get that property and lock it up for themselves and not let you bid it up. So, I think really the only time that you deal with cash buyer objections is when they try to like steamroll you and say, if you don't sell, I want this property. Well, I've got a couple other people that want it too. Well, I'm really ready to commit. So are they. Put in your highest and best. No, if it's not this price, then, you don't know how to do this business. Okay, see ya, right? Like, remember, you're in control. If you've got what everybody else wants, they will work with you. All right, they will work and they will understand. And if you're respectful and you just communicate with them, you're going to build really good relationships with them. So cash buyers typically aren't going to beat you up too much with objections.
So if you don't need to be a good salesperson to sell cocaine, what attributes do you need?
I think just the supply.
Oh, supply.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I think you just need the.
No, you don't need people skills. Just.
No, I don't think so. I mean, listen, you need to have some people skills to dispo properties for sure. You have to have ice water in your veins. Berg just
it's true.
Berg just keeps people in line. He makes sure that it gets done, and he makes sure that we get the most out of every single deal. And some people like that. Well, nobody likes it from a buyer standpoint. They all want discounts, but they like that they get the deals.
Don't be intimidated.
He's fair. He's going to communicate. He's not going to ghost. And if you want something, he's going to try to get you something. But you have to be aggressive with your pricing.
Yeah.
Because we do big. Yeah. Iceberg. Oh, iceberg.
Iceberg. Yeah, it's perfect.
That's good.
Highest and best.
That's it. Yeah, I don't know if we do, Michael. I don't know if we do. I mean, maybe there's a clever way to do that.
You don't need to be a good salesperson to sell cocaine. You don't need to be a good sales.
Yeah.
You don't need to be.
You don't need sales skills.
No sales skills to sell cocaine. Okay. Yeah.
Hey, Brent and Brent's team. I closed a vacant land deal for $3,000. It was super hard. It was in the city but undeveloped. Followed Brent's advice. Asked the neighbor several acres away to buy lots. I'm telling you, the neighbor will buy vacant lots. Everybody, follow Stephanie's lead here. Congrats, Stephanie. Here we go.
In the city.
In the city.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Keep going. Listen, that's not the only one that's there, Stephanie. Get them. And then all of a sudden that 3K turns into 30, turns into 90 when people just don't want anything for their land. They just want to get it and be done with it.
Tired of paying taxes on it.
Yeah, or they inherit a piece of land and they're like, listen, I live in Cleveland. This land's in Waco, Texas. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'll sell it for, $1,000. I just don't want to pay taxes on it. Happens. Here we go. Effective Wholesaling 101. Is this a good time to knock on doors? How should we handle that? TTP. There he is. What do you think?
I think if you see a house that fits what you're looking for, then you should knock on the door. Knock on doors. I mean, I think I don't think there's ever a bad time.
If you can't call them, you can't text them. Listen, the fact is 10% contact rate is phenomenal. That's 90% that you're not getting a hold of, right? You got to get them somehow. So especially if you're working in town, go to the doors.
Yeah.
Go to those doors. Build a whole team. I had a whole team. Mike and I had a whole team of door knockers back in 2007-8. That would go out, a dozen of them, knocking on doors, getting some great opportunities. And then I, after I lost everything, went and knocked on a 15,000 doors with a team of 3 other people and got deals. So, I mean, it's effective. It's not as effective as picking up the phone, but if you can't get a hold of the people, it's not an either or, it's an and. Call and go to those doors.
Leave a note, too. I leave notes.
Yeah. You left a note about you want to you want to tell them?
So we had a landlord who's having issues with his tenant. The tenant will not let anybody in, won't let him do anything. And so he's trying to figure out what he's going to do with the property. So I asked, well, hey, can I go to the residence and kind of see what's going on? And he's like, sure. So I showed up. The guy had all kinds of junk and lawnmowers and treadmills in the front yard. I knocked on the door, no answer. But then I left a note and said that I worked for a salvage repair company, and I wanted to buy all his stuff. And I left the note, and he called me 2 days later, and we have an appointment next week. So, I mean, I don't know if it's going to get me inside the house, but it'll at least get me in the yard, talking to him, and kind of figuring out what we might be able to do.
Listen, we can help him salvage that stuff. Well, I've got a guy, we'll call Mike the junk man. He'll go over there and listen. This isn't like Ryan's like making it up. We'll be the junk guys. Yeah. We will junk them out. We will, whatever. We're roofers. We're window repair guys. We are garage repair. We do it all, baby. We've got people that'll do every single part of that, So
how can we help you?
It's great. It reminds me of a story that Pace Morby talks about when he went to the probate attorneys, and to get into the door, he's like, listen, anything they need, you reach out to me. If there's a leak, if there's a roofing issue, if there's somebody breaking into whatever they need, anybody that comes through probate and they're having problems with their property, you tell me. If they need to junk it out, if they need to put it in storage, let me know. I can help them out. And then he makes a call to whatever company does that. That's it. You just organize it. So it's a great strategy.
There's some nice bikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice bikes.
Nice bikes.
Hey, Matt, did you see that Slack I just sent you? When do you get a second? Yeah. Okay. SO Properties. Hey, Brent, great show. How do you manage your lists? I have a hard time pulling a new list and making sure I'm not reaching out to the same leads that said no. I put it all. Yeah, I know. Listen, I am telling you, I was too for forever. It's that's why we went to batch leads. Yeah, we went to batch leads because they stack the lists. They make sure that everything is organized, and they make sure that you're not skip tracing the same addresses and you're not going after the same addresses. So, yeah. So batch leads is what we do, Alex. SO. How do I find the right price to get a fire damaged home for? Woo, Alex.
I mean, walk through it and kind of take some pictures and get an opinion. And sometimes if it's a tear down, then you kind of look at two options. If it's a salvageable house, what the price would be and the rehab costs, or if it's a tear down, then what's the price of the land?
Yeah, remember, Alex, a couple different things. One, the insurance company's probably already done the replacement costs. They've already given them the money. So a lot of times owners try to double dip. They're trying to get a lot more for selling their property, even though they've already got the costs covered. So something you have to just see how much of the house has actually been burnt. And typically kind of a rule of thumb is, depending on the area, but just look at what does it cost for new construction. In some areas it's $100 a foot. Some areas it's $300 a foot for construction. It just depends on labor costs and materials on some level, but typically it's labor costs. So it's find out what does it cost in the area. You could probably Google it, or you could probably just reach out to a contractor, or you can reach out to real estate investors, fix and flippers, and just say, hey, what does it cost to build brand new in this price point? And then just add that to the amount of times that by the amount of square footage that has been burnt. Because typically if it's already burnt to the ground, it's just land value. But most of the time it's like burnt, through the kitchen, or it's burnt in a specific room, or maybe there's an electrical issue somewhere and it's like located and it's kind of just in an isolated area. If it's in an isolated area, that's great. It's easy to repair. And obviously it's going to cost more to replace kitchens and bathrooms than it is a bedroom or a living room. So some things to take consideration of, but typically you can find an average price per square foot for building and multiply that by the area that is damaged. Right.
I got that file for you.
Let's pop that up real quick.
I have a feeling this is going to be bad.
Oh, there he is. There he is. Not only is he a three-sport athlete, he is Mr. July.
Why? Why?
Mr. July, everybody. There we go. Wow.
Wow,
Looking
indeed.
Good.
Yeah,
July.
good.
July.
Gosh.
Probably got the chicks. Yeah, there you go, Rob. Yeah, so that is, that was what, almost
That was 20 years
20
ago.
years ago.
Yeah,
that was last week.
Yeah.
I like the long hair.
Wow.
Hasn't been that long
Yeah,
in a while.
I can.
Yeah, you would flip it around. That was
yeah,
nice.
that was-
Wow.
Do an update
That was a look.
calendar.
Yeah, we'll do
A
yeah.
TTP calendar.
We'll do a
How
TTP
awesome would
calendar.
that
That'd be good.
Yeah, I'll keep my shirt on this time.
No, that's great. Rob, yes. Don't worry about that. You have no idea. You have no idea. This guy.
Moving on.
Yep. He's happily married and has 3 beautiful children. Gerald, I have, and by the way, found his wife cheerleading.
True.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Cheerleading.
Yep, that's it.
Who knew?
Gerald, I have a troubling tenant situation where she claims to not be the tenant.
She claims to not be the tenant. So
what can I do?
Have you talked to her at the house? Like, is this a phone call conversation? Has the landlord giving you the name of the tenant and they're not giving you the right name? I haven't personally run into this.
Yeah, I mean, if they're pretending not to be the tenant, I'd probably go to the property and see who's living there.
Who is living there? Mm-hmm.
Maybe you got the wrong number. Maybe they're just trying to avoid that conversation or trick you. So I would go to that property and have that. And I would just make sure that you're talking to the right person.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
I mean, it could happen.
Could happen.
Yeah.
Justin, how do you disguise your wholesale fee and separate seller and buyer? A couple different things, Justin. I don't really worry about it. We put our assignment fee on the on our assignment agreement so that we don't have to run into that later. I'd rather a cash buyer get mad and kind of balk at the price, at the wholesale price early on than later on when it gets to the closing. So first, I like showing it to them. Now, some people don't because they don't want to, negotiate with the buyer. They don't want the buyer to hit them up later because they know how much they're making. We stand by. I mean, we don't have that problem because every property we sell usually has 3 or 4 buyers on it.
Yeah.
So, they have to compete to get in there, and that's not really a problem. One thing that you could do is you could do a double close. You can do a double escrow. You can do separate HUDs. You can do a split settlement statement. They're not HUDs anymore. A separate settlement statement. It just depends. You'd have to talk to your title and escrow company and see if they've got a closing statement that just shows the seller side and the buyer side. Either way, if you're not doing a double close or a double escrow, your buyer is going to know what you make. Your buyer's going to know what you make if you do a wholesale fee. Well, you have a wholesale fee, so there's no way. There's no way. It'll be on the settlement statement because the title company actually pays you. So it's going to be on there. What I would say is don't have fear of that and go after big deals. And if they're smoking hot, then people want, there's going to be multiple buyers for it. Somebody will be comfortable taking that down, Justin. So don't worry about disguising it. I mean, I wouldn't disguise anything in this business. Yeah, I mean, it's non-refundable earnest money. They look at it. They see the agreement before they put the non-refundable earnest money in. And if they're willing to put the non-refundable earnest money in, they're cool. Listen, they can't count your money. They can't go into your wallet and be mad that you're making a certain amount, okay? Because you negotiated it. You're the one that found the deal. You're the one that followed up with them. You're the one that pre-qualified. You went on the appointment. You're the one working with the seller to get them through the finish line. So don't. There's a lot of benefit to what we do. There's a lot of value in what we do. So don't be worried about big assignment fees. Yeah. Love it. Mr. July. Mo, with the new carriers cracking down on spam likely, how often do you find yourself having to buy new numbers? I don't. I do it all through Batch. Batch does that automatically. So it's just a huge advantage. TTP discount code. You got to test it out for free. Batch Dialer. There you go. By the way, guys, if you're getting value out of this, make sure that you subscribe. I know that a lot of you are, and it's like bananas, the percentage of people that are subscribed versus not subscribed to this channel, and I love that. I love this audience. I mean, it's absolutely the best. So make sure that you subscribe to, you like that, the double, yeah. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel. We come out with new videos every single day. It's exactly what you need. Give you that pump, give you that energizing enthusiasm for this business.
I watch them all the time still.
Let's go.
Yeah, I love it.
Mm-hmm. How do you find buy and hold buyers? Thank you, Arturo. It's a price point thing. Typically, it just depends. When you're selling, when you're going after multifamily, that's typically going to be their strategy, unless it needs a complete renovation. But typically, they want to update it. They want to get it to market rents, and they want to make that be their little cash cow. Other than that, it's going to be price point. It's going to be the price points that cash flow. It's going to be lower prices. And it's going to be in areas that people want to rent out property. So, typically in rental properties, in cash flow markets, there's just pockets that are mostly rentals. So just look for those areas that you see people are buying these properties and they're owned, like a lot of the comps are owned by LLCs, and you see that they're not getting flipped. They've been owned for a while. That's going to be a good indication on an area that is a good cash flow neighborhood, good cash flow market that people really like. So, and then then it's just reaching out. Now it's just going to meetup groups or going into investment groups or reaching out to different investors and seeing what their strategy is. What is your strategy? Are you more flipping properties? Or are you more holding the properties? And then you could divide them up. Here's my buy and hold buyers. Here's my flip buyers. If I get something that's a little bit cleaner, but the margins are a little bit thinner, I'm going to put it to my rental. If it needs a lot of fix up, a lot of repairs, I'm going to put them over here. Because most people that have those portfolios, Arturo, They don't want to do a tremendous amount of rehab to get them rent ready because it takes time, and then they got to have all these crews and they got to pick everything out, and it just slows down their whole process. They'd rather buy something that's close to rent ready or just needs cosmetic rehab. There you go. Joe, love the videos and definitely the tips. I'm fairly new. I'm curious, how do you squeeze out a potential lead's pain when they're dismissive, but they are considering entertaining offers?
I think it's a big deal when you're selling a house, depending on what the motivation is. And so I think it's just a matter of how you approach. It's like, hey, this is what I'm doing. I want to see if I can help you with whatever's going on. Can we sit? Do you have time to sit down and talk? Like, getting in front of them is important.
Yep.
But if they're being dismissive, trying to figure out why. They probably got a whole bunch of people calling them.
Yep.
Maybe saying whatever they're saying. Hey, I want to buy your house. How much? If you go in and say, hey, this is what I do. Are you familiar with it? As opposed to listing, and kind of educate them in that realm and go, is there anything that I can help you with? Do you have questions about this whole process?
Yep.
And just be that servant mindset and try to kind of sift through what their pain points are.
Yeah, Joe, and remember, there's a reason the pre-qualifying is in the order that it is, okay? Typically, if people are being dismissive, it's because they're just emotionally protecting themselves. So the first thing that you go with is the condition of the property. Now, if they're not going to tell you anything about the property, if they're not going to tell you what needs to be done to the property, if they're not going to tell you what's going on in the inside of the property, get rid of them. I'm just telling you, they're just messing around. They just want you to do a free comp. But if they're like, yeah, I've got this kind of floors, this is what I've done to it, this is what it needs, those type of things, that's a good indicator that you're having a conversation. The walls are starting to come down. And then you say something like, well, listen, Mr. or Mrs. Homeowner, we typically close in 30 days. If I got you your money in 30 days from today, would that work for you? And if they go, no, or if they start talking, now all of a sudden, you know why the property's in rough shape. You know that what their timeline is. Typically, you're going to get what their pain is because you're having that conversation. They're talking about the property, and then they're like, and then the tenant spilled paint in the garage, and then they lit a fire in the shed, and they put holes through the doors, and you're like, oh, the picture's starting to become clear. So if you get the condition and their timeline, they're like, I want to sell it right now. It keeps getting broken into. I want to sell it right now because I need the money to buy something else. I want to sell it right now because I just inherited it and we don't have the money to fix it up. Whatever it is, now you know. Condition and timeline are typically going to give you that motivation, that problem, that pain that you're talking about there. You just got to have to open them up a little bit by asking them questions about the condition and the timeline. Yeah, just use the script. Use the TTP script. TTPinsider.com. There you go. The world's foremost location for the greatest resources and tools real estate coaching has ever created. There we go. Jeff, where do you find Driving for Dollars team members? I love retirees. So what I did is hey, listen, for an hour each week, you guys come in. These are budding young real estate entrepreneurs. They would come in. They would be responsible for driving 5 hours around town, and then they get an hour in the office. We'd work that out, and that worked well until COVID. The best Driving for Dollar guy I ever had was a retired pastor, and he was on the hunt. It was just, you get people that are retired, they don't really need the money, but they need something to do.
Something active.
They need purpose. They need something to do. They're phenomenal. So I don't know if you need to put up bulletins in like a retirement community or sponsor a retirement community newsletter or something like that. Honestly, put it in your church bulletin. I don't know.
It might be a walking for dollars.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. Get a little exercise.
Yeah.
There's
one. Yeah.
I got you one.
Yeah.
That's your neighbor's house.
Our driver's
Jim?
license don't expire until 60 years later.
Yeah.
So you're going
You'll be fine.
Yeah.
There you go, Jeff. Christopher, what is a better option, cold calling or driving for dollars? Both. You got to cold call your driving for dollars, Christopher. So you drive for dollars. You know, you use the Deal Machine app, right? Don't just be writing them down. Put the Deal Machine app. Make sure you use TTP as a coupon code. It gives you the biggest discount. And you get the Deal Machine app. You're driving around. You get those numbers. And then you put it on your computer. And you export it out of your computer. And then you skip trace it and get the phone numbers and call them. All right? And then that's what you do. I mean, you can get out of your car and you can knock on the door, but most of the time people aren't going to answer, so you need to get a hold of them some way. So if you want to do a combination of both, do so, but make sure you're getting the owner's information there from Deal Machine. Nice.
Celebrations and then wrap up.
Yep, couple celebrations, and then we are out of here. Make sure, guys, by the way, tomorrow, hold on with this real quick. Tomorrow with Ryan Zolan, Millionaire Before 30. We are on a mission. We are on a mission to help create, to help promote, to help just build a community of people that want to be, these young professionals that want to be millionaires before the age of 30. Awesome. Got Ryan Zolan, 23 years old. He's right there, and he's talking about how he did it by getting deals off of the market, off of the MLS, the multiple listing service. These are on-market properties, and he's absolutely crushing it. He did 1 month that he did 32 deals.
Jeez.
32 deals, yeah. You do not want to miss it tomorrow, 10 a.m. on this channel. Ryan Zolan with Millionaire Before 30. So let's do some celebrations. Cody, there he is. Just locked up one for $3K and locked up another one for $10K.
I love it.
Man.
Yep.
Come on. Yeah.
That is loud.
There you go. Oh, Javier, JVC. That's what I'm talking about. Got another one. Hold on.
Just keep it up. Yeah.
That is awesome. Congratulations. By the way, guys, both of those TTP family members, if you are interested in joining the most proactive group in real estate investing, it is the TTP family, TTP coaching. Make sure you go to ttpcall.com if you're interested in any of that. You'd work with me personally. I work one-on-one. You get my cell phone number. We go through everything A to Z, show you who to call, what to say, how to be efficient, and I make sure that I'm there for you when it comes to that most important, the biggest part.
They get all of us as
Deal,
resources.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
They get everybody. Everybody comes in. But deal or no deal is really difficult when you're getting started out, and I want to take that off your plate. So if that feels good in your gut, sign up for that call, ttpcall.com. And love you guys. Thank you for joining. Ryan, Mr. July, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
No longer the Mantis. Where he's going to have to be Mr. July from here on out. There you go.
I don't know what's
come
worse.
on up, guys. Everybody say goodbye. Everybody say hello. Thank you for joining us, guys. This is your show, and I love that you joined. So remember, think about that big granite elephant. What do you need to chip away? What do you need to chip away? All right. Thank you, Jesse, Mike, Daniel, Matt. Alejandra is not here today, but she will be here tomorrow. Thank you, Ryan Thornton,
Thanks for having me.
acquisition
I love
manager
it, always.
extraordinaire. And I love you guys all. I'll see you tomorrow. See ya.